Getting ready for the front line. These volunteer firefighters from Australia's Rural Fire Service are inspecting new equipment. Upgrades made possible thanks to a government cash injection and donations from members of the public who dug deep. Much needed funds going towards new helmets and trucks like this one, with all the bells and whistles.
We know now what a catastrophic fire season we can expect in the future, and I'm sure that it'll be repeated. Hopefully we've learnt something, and we've probably got a lot more people with experience in what to do in these conditions.
The risk of future fires was at the heart of a public inquiry into the devastating fire season now known as Black Summer. The Royal Commission's final report made some 80 recommendations. Among them was better engagement with Australia's First Nations people when it comes to building resilience to natural disasters, encouraging authorities to incorporate Indigenous land management techniques that have been used for tens of thousands of years. ELWYN TOBY is an Aboriginal fire practitioner and is demonstrating a cultural burn to a couple of local firefighters. Known as caring for country, these small-scale, low-intensity burns are said to minimise the risk of a blaze during bushfire season, while restoring connection to the land and rejuvenating the local environment.
The way we do it, you're not going to leave scars behind, because too intense fire, no grass grows for a long time. It's not really burning and scorching the land. We call it you're nurturing.
Indigenous fire practitioners are increasingly sought after by landowners, farmers and firefighters to share their traditional know-how.
Everyone benefits out of it. They get a learning process and we get a learning process off them of what they know. So it's two knowledges together.
For residents in bushfire-prone areas, Black Summer was a turning point. Annette Greer spent New Year's Eve 2019 defending her property from an inferno, certainly not the kind of festive fireworks she had in mind. The experience prompted some crucial changes.
We had to replace all our fencing with from timber fencing to metal, which means that it can actually survive a fire next time.
A retaining wall made of wood also had to go.
We've replaced all of it with rock, because between timber and mulch it was just a flame problem, and we knew that if we ever had a fire in the future it would just go again and again and again this way. The rocks definitely aren't going to burn.
But it's not enough to simply extinguish the flames. That was one of the warnings from the inquiry's report, which recognised a clear link between global warming and the frequency and intensity of extreme weather events.
There's too much talk about it being not climate change or not human driven, and I don't care whether you agree with that or not, we've still got to make changes.
The fires also destroyed some of the wettest forests on the planet, places that don't typically burn. For ecologists like Mark Graham, that should be enough to set off alarm bells.
A significant proportion of our society has definitely been fundamentally shaken, and their worldview and their attitude toward fire and carbon emissions and the like has shifted. But to me it seems pretty clear that the wake-up call has not been heeded by enough people.
Critics accuse the Morrison government of not doing enough to tackle climate change. According to the Climate Transparency Report released last November, Australia is failing in the fight against global warming, ranking among the worst of the G20 nations. With per capita carbon emissions 3 times the G20 average, it's one of the world's top polluters.
Our government is basically utterly beholden to the fossil fuel industries. It's incestuous, it's corrupt, and it's vile, and it's undoubtedly making our future much less safe because it's throwing fuel on the fire.
The government has downplayed any link between climate change and the bushfire crisis, which destroyed more than 18 million hectares and killed or displaced more than 3 billion animals. In the wake of the bushfire probe, climate scientists and fire chiefs insist the country must act now or risk more catastrophic fires in the future and lose ancient ecosystems like this one.
They're not really forests anymore. The structure of the forest is fundamentally altered, And it's going to take decades to maybe even centuries for recovery to occur because it has been so ferocious. This is a window into the future, and it's not pretty.
Australia still bears the scars of Black Summer, and yet it continues to defy international pressure to set more ambitious climate targets, proving perhaps that so far the country is yet to learn its lesson.